For plebs, by plebs, dropping the Bitcoin-only signal. Pleb Underground. Welcome everyone to the Pleb Underground.
Welcome back to Pleb Underground. This is episode 55. Sometimes I make mistakes, always on point, never mistakes. Love this girl, little mistakes. My heart, little kiss wakes me up in the morning. Mode A, no yawning, no simping, no fawning. But I'm pot committed, all in. Exotic girl of my dreams inspires me to write reams, conspires with me, write teams, not just read only, write memes. If there's friction, to avoid rumination, surprise her with liquidity and there'll be lubrication. Fairy tale, magic behind from the east. If we had a sex tape, it'd be Booty and the Beast. She might be annoying, but she likes my mug. I like this creature, she's a feature, not a bug. Bugs are for fixing, not eating. Not what the weft bleating. I write 365 days a year like Windows. Renewable energy, not just when the wind blows. Entropy moves forward, you can't rescind blows. Synfluence to the can, make them bin hose. Zoom out with all hosting, represent head to toe boasting. Crypto cloak, no case. I'm roasting her slowly, no break, just coasting. Real ones, no fake, just floating. On cloud nine, she keeps doting on me, she's upvoting my sweet sugar coating. Always rolling bigger raps. I'm white, but these aren't wigger raps. Surrounded on BT by other autistics and blunt fools. Central bankers half-baked. They've only blunt tools. Are you tough because you make kids cross the street? Are you tough because you make kids cross tweet? Fuck shitcoins.com. Please subscribe. Don't just repeat. Provoking new media. Make you retweet. Gave her timber by the lake, you know I'm a giver. Just in, senorita, cry me a river. Build, 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 it's not out of reach, man. Call me the CEO because I've got her on a leash, man. Talk of maturity, what about bondage? Assets tied up, safe in a cage. Bitcoin custodial solutions are simply orange ablutions. What does that even mean? It means they should come clean. Bitcoin in custody is just BS when taking self-custody is just free of stress. Welcome back.
They just keep getting better and better, Walton. That's absolutely awesome. Plebs, in case you didn't get it, we've got the CEO of River that is joining us, Alex Leishman. Did I pronounce that correctly, Alex?
You did.
Close. Yay. Thank
Good
you.
job.
Awesome. Thank you very much for joining us, by the way. We really, really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on.
With a name like Leishman, you'd think he might be the CEO of Tether, but he's not.
It's a good one, Walton. It's pretty good. Finally, one of your jokes did not go over my bald head. Awesome. All right.
We are going to richer.
Well, look, the future hasn't happened yet, right? Future hasn't happened yet, so there's still time. All right, guys. We are moving on over to the numbers.
Yeah, the numbers, of course, brought to us by Timechain Stats and Timechain Calendar. Phil, what do the numbers look like this week?
At the time of this recording, the block height is 808,881. The Bitcoin price, or the Bitcoin fiat exchange, 26,627 and 5 cents. Total public lightning capacity, 4,858.2. Moscow time, 3755. And fastest fee right now. Damn, what is going on? 46 sats per VByte. Oh my gosh, that is absolutely brutal. And of course, guys.
The cheapest fee is 46 sats per VByte.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Sats. I know, right?
Is it shitcoiners or is it exchanges consolidating? What's going on?
It's probably the ordinals, guys. Chain rewrite days are 730, so we're still going strong on that. Those are the uneventful numbers. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of arguing going on Twitter, and there's a lot of anger, and so I know that we are at at least I feel like we're at the kind of the bottom of the bear market. Alex, what's your sentiment right now on the overall feeling in Bitcoin?
Oh yeah, it's definitely bear market vibes. Been here many times before, and it's when the pie shrinks and asset values are depressed, everyone starts to fight a lot. Some people will rage quit and give up. So yeah, par for the course, really.
So is River doing anything for the employees to keep everybody's spirits up and stuff like that?
Actually, we don't need to. We've seen
you guys are building.
So our user numbers are at record highs. So while the price is down, and certainly volumes are down, the number of people signing up for the platform and the number of clients that are transacting on the platform have been hitting all-time highs for months.
That is the signal right there, people. See, while mainstream media is sitting there talking about how everything is dead, and Stephen Deal is once again dancing on Bitcoin and crypto's grave, there you go. At River, they're building and they're growing. That's good stuff.
Yeah, we've also seen a lot of growth in Lightning. We have a Lightning report coming out that will reveal some numbers from both internally and from other companies that we source data from, doing a deep dive into Lightning Network analytics.
Very nice, very nice. We're actually gonna dive into some of those because I believe you mentioned that a few times on Twitter. So we're gonna dive into that in the fireside chat. But right now we're gonna go take a look at one of our numbers articles. This was actually provided by Walton. Let's dive into it. So we've got this tweet from Joe Consorti. The U.S. is paying $970 billion in annual interest. The interest rate is 2.26%. Over 90% of it matures within 5 years, so it may be refinanced at 5% or more. In other words, we'll pay $1 trillion in interest in Q3 and over $2 trillion by 2028. We will pay for it with more debt. Eesh. That is not the hockey stick chart that we want. That is absolutely brutal and absolutely astounding.
Hey, number go up. That's good, right?
Isn't it? Is all number go up good?
We're always number one in America, right?
That's true, right? It's a good point. But this is just, look, this is absolutely insane. And let's be honest, they don't have a plan for this, right? The only plan that they have is to somehow print more money and keep doing what they're doing with interest rates. This is the extent of the financial tools, unless there's some other financial tools that I'm missing. No, I guess not. All right. Well, look, while this is happening with the debt, this is a tweet from Jameson Lopp, and let's take a look, guys, because this, I think, is very important. If we zoom back to the previous bull market when this happened, that's right. Remember when China banned Bitcoin mining? And guys, see this blip right down here? That was the mining ban. Okay, right down here. And this is where we are with the hash rate today. So, once again, while the mainstream media is
said the hash rate would double in 18 months, and it did. And that's why I said one reason why I didn't want to get into mining. But the only option for me at the time was something like Compass, which there were many red flags as well, right? But yeah, mining is seemingly for the big boys and those that can get, you know, stranded energy or energy included in wherever they're living, or, you know, some commercial enterprise they have.
So the big question is, oh, Alex, you were going to say something?
No, I was just going to say, I think long-term, that's definitely true. There's people who locked in really good energy rates, and they're still on those contracts. So mining is still profitable for people who have stuff like that, which we have clients who do have that, thankfully. But yeah, going forward, like over the long term, I mean, it's going to be tough for sure.
Every time I see the hash rate, it always makes me think of the miner death spiral FUD, right? And of course, right now with the whole drive chain conversation that's going on, right? And the security budget. So I got to tell you, all the security budget fudders, you're kind of wrecked right now because the hash rate is totally proving you wrong.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, miners just keep investing.
Why do you think that they're wrong? Right? Like, I mean, let's face it, that the halvenings, right? It makes it so that you know, they're getting half of the incentive, right? So why do you think it keeps going up? I personally think it has to do with conviction. I think it has to do with conviction in the Bitcoin network, and that to me, like, that's obviously they're doing it for profit, right? Like, people, right? Nobody is better than their incentive. So obviously
there are increases in efficiency, right? Like
exactly
this week you see, I don't have the stats right now, but the what is it? The Antminer 60 M60, and you've got the S21 from Bitmain. They're getting, you know, it's like 17 or 18 joules per terahash.
we got
and then getting like 160 terahashes per second out of it, or 200 or whatever it is. They get, they're getting some, some increasing numbers, and so therefore, but better efficiencies.
Yeah, we got to do. Oh, go ahead, Alex.
Even if the energy of miners remain the same over time, you'd still see a rise in hash rate.
All right, guys, that wraps up the numbers, and we are going to move it on over to the Fireside Chat. The Fireside Chat is brought to you by CypherSafe. Check them out at cyphersafe.io. You can't trust your seed to paper. It's not good enough. Store your seed in something that is almost completely indestructible, made for Bitcoiners by a fellow Bitcoiner. Check out the Cypher Grid. It comes with this awesome little punch tool. You can get them at cyphersafe.io. If you appreciate physical Bitcoin art, check out the awesome craftsmanship of the Bitcoin Rouleau Triangle at cyphersafe.io. 16 ounces of solid titanium, 4 inches by 4 inches by 4 inches. It is an absolutely beautiful masterpiece. The Bitcoin Rouleau Triangle at cyphersafe.io. Welcome back, everyone. In the hot seat today, joining us on the show, as we stated before, we've got the CEO of River, Alex Leishman, joining us. Alex, before we dive into some of the questions, I think Walton wanted to kick us off. So before we go through the rabbit hole story, Walton, let's dive into it, man.
So my understanding is that River is vertically integrated. As a consequence, how do you feel knowing that Ripple don't own part of your stack?
The worst part of that is I don't have billions of dollars to buy lots of nice like free snacks and then little perks. So it is kind of sad not having Brad Garlinghouse dangling millions of dollars in front of me. But other than that major downside, feels pretty great. From a customer Bitcoin security perspective, I like to follow the Bitcoin mantra: not your keys, not your coins. I always tell my clients that, but we also follow that mantra ourselves as a business. We need to also control our keys to know with 100% certainty what the financial status of our business is. My rule of thumb is not to outsource anything that could be an existential risk for the company. I want to have control as much as humanly possible over any system or service that, if handled improperly, could take down the business and harm my customers.
So how do you guys go about avoiding losing 700 Bitcoin like BlockFi did, that one time? Or, how do you not have these accidents occur?
So risk, security, and building correct systems is very much a cultural thing. And so one of the things that I focused very early on in the beginning is just building the right culture at River. Risk management is everybody's job, because security is everybody's job. There's no one security team that's responsible for everyone's security. There's no one risk person that's responsible for risk at the business. It's on all of us to always make sure we're crossing our T's, dotting our I's, and thinking through all the things, and measuring 3 times and cutting once. So it's a culture thing. And it's and part of that is also not scaling too fast. So from a headcount perspective, we scale very deliberately. We hire 1 or 2 people at a time, very slowly, and we target towards high caliber talent, and fewer of them, versus large amounts of people that are cheaper, for example. And so, orchestrating, I have a mantra: more people, more problems, right? The more people in an organization, the more things that can go wrong, the more things fall between the cracks. So keeping the headcount low and high quality is one of the ways that we mitigate risk.
Yeah, you don't want bloat. I think if you have bloat in a company, you get more people that have high political quotient, which are people that are good at being seen to get stuff done without actually doing anything. Whereas, yeah, when you have lots of Yeah, high performers working very closely together. There's no kind of gaps for those sorts. Do you guys? I mean, I'm guessing all exchanges do, but do you use a lot of multi-sig? Like, how do you ensure that your security is where it needs to be?
It's a great question. So we actually have an article on our website about how your funds flow through River. A lot of people want to know both dollars and Bitcoin. How does what's the flow of funds at the company look like? So yeah, one of the benefits of being Bitcoin only is that we can just use multi-sig, right? If you're a multi-asset exchange, multi-sig doesn't work for all of your other assets. So you actually have to use typically more complex setups using like MPC based custody systems, which are fine for hot wallets, but they're pretty rough security guarantees for cold storage. And so our cold storage is a large multi-sig. And because it's decoupled from the hot wallet, we can rotate out signers when necessary. And it provides a very nice level of security guarantees.
Very nice, very nice. So look, what we're gonna do now is we're just gonna back it up a bit, and I just want because I'm sure that there's gonna be some people watching the show, they have no idea who you are and what River is. So just if you don't mind, give us a quick rundown of your the rabbit hole story, and then tell us like what does River do?
Sure. So long story short, I've been working in the Bitcoin industry for most of my career at this point, about 10 years, and when I was an undergrad, I was an engineering student studying aerospace engineering, but I got very interested in economics and the concept of money and went down the Austrian economics rabbit hole, ended up reading Friedrich Hayek's Denationalization of Money, and came up with this idea of creating my own currency that the government couldn't control, backed by commodities. And then couldn't really figure out how to make that happen for real. And then came across Bitcoin doing an online programming class a year after I graduated. And I was like, holy cow, like this fulfills the prophecy. And it all just clicked. So, and that sent me further down the computer science rabbit hole. So Bitcoin in a way sort of like, I was attracted to it initially because of the economic principles. And then it pulled me down the cryptography and computer science rabbit hole. And so at the end of 2013, I moved to San Francisco with the dream of being a Bitcoin engineer, and was in San Francisco for over 8.5 years, or about 8.5 years, working as an engineer at various Bitcoin startups and funds. Also went to grad school out there, did my master's at Stanford. I helped teach the first Bitcoin class on campus with a cryptography professor, Dan Benet, in 2015. And back then, AI was the hot thing, not Bitcoin or crypto. And then Bitcoin / crypto became the hot thing on campus in 2017, and now it's AI again. So I guess it just keeps switching. And started River in 2019. The dream really of River was fulfilling sort of the prophecy that like Hal Finney laid out, right? There will be these Bitcoin banks. People will build financial institutions around this new money. And I thought Coinbase was going to build that. So when I first, learned about Coinbase, that's where I bought my first Bitcoin years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, and they used to be just focused on Bitcoin. I thought, Coinbase is on track to fulfill this vision of, bringing Bitcoin to the world, building that financial institution. And, they took a different direction, right? I would say that
That's nice.
The way I kind of frame
you
River
put it politely.
yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, like people are going to build things that make money, right? The way I would frame it though is I think the multi-crypto exchanges are chased a local maximum and not the global maximum in terms of economic return for what they're building. There's a very clear path to this local maximum of building a multi-asset exchange that incentivizes day trading and taking fees from that. And you add a bunch of tokens, and every token you add makes you millions of dollars. The harder path, the circuitous path with fog covering it, and hopefully a big mountain behind it, is the one we're following, which is this like what does a financial institution look like in a Bitcoin standard, right? And during a transition of unknown duration to a Bitcoin standard. So the vision behind River is that someday every person has Bitcoin savings, every business has Bitcoin on their balance sheet, and every developer can seamlessly integrate an open global payments network into anything that they're working on or building. And our goal is to build the products that bring about that future. And so in the United States, we offer a USD BTC brokerage and custody service with a really nice app and wallet, custodial. In the United States, we are licensed countrywide, with the exception of New York and Nevada. And we own our own custody stack and one-to-one full reserve, no funny business. BlockFi used to be our biggest competitor, and now they're gone. And then we also have a Lightning infrastructure side to the business, which is global, and I'd be happy to dig into that too.
Oh, man, that's absolutely awesome. Actually, my question actually had to do with what you were just talking about, right? How BlockFi was your biggest competitor. So why do you think that? Because you guys do the vertical integration stack, right? And you essentially have custody and control of everything as much as possible, right? And other people, right, other businesses such as Swan have chosen to do this other model, right, where they get a third party custodian. And for whatever reason, the reasons that I've seen that are given is that somehow is more economically viable, or what was the exact word?
Outsourcing,
Walton,
right? It seems like they're
but they
doing
were
the
saying
sales and
something about.
marketing.
But they were saying something about like that it had to do with what was it? Damn it. I'm totally blanking out.
Qualified custody or something like that.
Minimal legal model.
Yeah, it had to. Well, I don't know if it had a minimal legal model.
That's really what it is.
But
yeah,
I think it had to do with like their exposure or something like that. I could be wrong.
So,
but yeah,
happy to. I don't know if you're done, but
I mean, no, I was trying to explain it properly, but I butchered it. So go on.
Happy to sort of like address there's a lot of nuance here, and I think it's very confusing. Like, it's easy even for myself. Like, I forget how in it I am and how much I understand all the moving parts. How confusing this can be to an outside observer that doesn't really know how to reason about all of this. So let me try and break it down a little bit. When you are buying Bitcoin somewhere, and you leave it with that, and you're not self-custodying, you're leaving it with somebody else, right? And so somebody else has control over your Bitcoin. So there's different structures that a company that wants to sell Bitcoin can follow in terms of how they custody those coins, or how those coins get custodied. They can either, and a lot of the decisions here are legal and regulatory, right? So if you look at, so there's one model, which is, okay, I want to get to market the fastest. I want to build a Bitcoin brokerage, and I want to get to market the fastest. In that model, what you actually do is you don't build a financial institution at all. You don't touch money at all. You outsource anything that requires touching money, whether that's US dollars or Bitcoin, to another company, and you build an app that talks to that company behind the scenes. And so that's what a number of apps have done in the US. Like Swan is an example of that. And so, like both Prime Trust and Fortress Trust, anyone who uses one of these apps built on those, their account is actually with Prime Trust or Fortress Trust. Yeah. You're a customer of Prime Trust. You're a customer of Fortress Trust. They are the custodians of your assets. They have all of the licenses required to store and transmit value on behalf of consumers. The app built on top of them is really just, bringing in the users and owning the distribution and the UI. So this model is the cheapest to get up and running, right? Now, some people will spin this as like segregating risk, right?
Yes.
We're using a third-party custodian because it's safer for you. Well, and this is where this really gets a little bit philosophical and sort of more about your worldview, right? I don't think it's safer to use a custody service that I don't have control over, because I can't make honest representations about the security of it, because I have no idea what that really is, because I'm an engineer. Like I deeply understand the cryptographic principles of Bitcoin and computer security, and there is no way on God's green earth that I could possibly ever feel comfortable saying, yes, I think that Prime Trust understands how to keep Bitcoin safe. They could have all of the legal checkboxes in the world, but what does that really mean, right? They were a chartered trust regulated by the Nevada, banking commission. Well, what do they know about securing Bitcoin, right?
Nothing.
These legal structures were created to protect traditional assets, right? They weren't created to protect Bitcoin. And so they're kind of useless at the end of the day. That's my take on it. So at River, we actually took the slower path to market. We were like, we don't want to outsource custody. That's not something we can do and feel confident in the security and safety of our clients' assets. We want to do this the hard way. So we went and got all the licenses we needed, not because the licenses make us safe, because we just need them to operate, or else we're not allowed to operate. The licenses don't make us safe. Us being safe makes us safe. A state regulator can't make us safe. We have to make ourselves safe. And so we went state by state over years and expanded into the different states piecemeal, instead of outsourcing the financial services part of the business to a third party custodian. And so I'll stop there. I don't know if that made sense.
Yeah, no, it did. It actually made a lot of sense, and I really appreciate you diving into the detail that you did. Now, you were talking about not being in New York, and I know we got a question from BTC Delica that he wanted you to extrapolate on, and why essentially why the bit license was impractical to maintain. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, so most states require what's called a money transmission license to operate.
An MTL.
An MTL, you'll hear that term.
Yeah.
So we're regulated at the state level for mostly consumer protection is what the states care about. At the federal level, saying you're regulated or licensed isn't actually the right term. There's oversight. So FinCEN is the federal regulator, and they care about money laundering. So they're the ones forcing all the AML KYC stuff. You have to register with them and show them that you're following all these laws, and they have the right to come and audit you. Now there is one state that's different, and that's New York. New York because it's the financial hub of the world, they have the New York Department of Financial Services that created this special regulatory regime for any crypto company. And you still need a money transmission license in New York too. You still need that. And you also need this thing called a bit license. And
so basically, TradFi lobbied the regulators to build them more of a moat, just like so many other industries have done.
It's possibly that. It's also possible like a certain regulator there just wanted to make a name for himself.
And then in Nevada, you guys aren't allowed to because Bitcoin's not gambling, but the shitcoiners are allowed to trade there. How does it work?
So in Nevada, there's probably also some funny business, but who knows what. So there's also another nuance with this custody stuff. So let me finish the bit license part. And then I'll get to it. So with the bit license, the intention is great, right? Like we want to make sure that the businesses like River are safe and sound, right? But the reality of it is that the cost that it creates for a business is insane. So like getting a bit license, for example, we would have to probably grow our headcount. We'd have to hire multiple employees to like check the boxes that they need for like, you need somebody with this title and somebody with this title. And then on top of that, every new thing we do, they have a right to like require review, right? So, and also we need to lock up cash with them proportional to the amount of assets under custody. So, and so that's not an expense, but it's cash that's locked up. We can't use it. So it's
dead
basically
money.
an expense, right? Because we're not going to shut down, so we're never getting the cash back. So it creates basically an enormous cash burden for a company of modest size like us, right? We're not Coinbase, and it creates what I would say, the way I would describe it is, it's like hiring an executive in your company that doesn't care about the success of your company and can like veto anything you do. And so that's basically the issue with it. And there's there are numerous.
You saying that's compliance departments?
It's not even compliance. That's the thing. It's not even just compliance. Like, it's
I
not
was just making
like
a joke really about compliance. Like they just kind of, they can veto things and like,
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, but basically, like, if you think about it, right, these guys have the right. They sit around. They have no incentive whatsoever to like help you succeed as a company, right? They're paid to like just basically create problems. And yeah, so it would cost us millions of dollars a year, and it would tremendously slow down our ability to build new things. So it's not really worth it, basically.
That sounds like a great way to create a horrible barrier to entry for smaller players. Like that,
yes.
it really does.
And this gets into this sort of like regulatory regime in general. And so this gets into sort of what you'll also hear about some of the custody conversation, is this idea of qualified custody, right? That Bitcoin stored, for example, unless it's in qualified custody, it's not bankruptcy remote. So if your custodian goes bankrupt, your assets aren't safe, right? And so the argument for qualified custody is that qualified custody separates the assets from the business balance sheet. But the reality is, one, none of this has any real judicial precedent, right? Qualified custody rules were not made for Bitcoin. They're like, it's like SEC stuff. Two, it's adding one more regulator to the mix and adding another layer of expense to manage this thing. And so what you end up seeing is, the more regulation you get, the more shitcoin you get, because the higher the cost of business becomes, the more that just running like a basic Bitcoin brokerage becomes less and less feasible, and you have to take more risks to offset the cost of doing business. And so what you see with these qualified custodians like Prime Trust is, they weren't just running a basic like, we'll just help people buy Bitcoin and keep it safe. No, they were like, we're going to take assets, we're going to put it in Luna, and they're like, they have a lot of overhead running that qualified custody business, so they have to do all this other crazy stuff for this to be ROI positive. And so that's the other issue with a lot of these regulatory regimes. They actually force shitcoining.
I never thought of it that way, and I really appreciate you explaining that. So thank you very much. We're gonna switch gears though, and we're gonna take a look at something, because you made a couple announcements this week, and I want to dive into that.
Yeah, let's go.
I don't know if this is all related, okay, but Alex, you're gonna let us know. So the first tweet I got over here is, we will be shipping a cool new way to orange pill your friends with River soon. Then you also put this out: we're working on an upgrade to River Lightning that will allow any developer globally, non-custodial, no KYC, to sign up and start programmatically sending and receiving Lightning payments within minutes, drastically reducing the friction required to build on LN. But wait, there's more, because then you gave a tease about the long-term vision. Okay, and I don't know if this all goes back to the new way to orange pill people, but you'll explain that in a second. So longer term, the goal is to build a supercharged Lightning subnet that augments the functionality of the base Lightning protocol for River Lightning users. Lots of cool stuff we can accomplish there with layer 3 functionality, all completely opt-in, of course. Alex, Can
Yeah.
you share with the viewers exactly what is going on?
Yeah. So okay. So the new way to orange pill your friend is separate from the lightning stuff.
Okay, cool.
So
That's number
the
one.
new way to orange pill your friend is a cool feature that we're launching on the River app with the goal of drastically reducing the friction and interaction required to send someone Bitcoin, especially for the first time, but send anyone Bitcoin at all, actually, from the River app. So I won't say exactly what it is. It's not going to be like, I think it's not some like world changing technology thing, but I think it's something we haven't seen anyone do before. And so we want to see, it's an experiment, and we're pretty excited about it.
Cool.
And then we also have some other cool things coming to the River app. We'll probably have like 4 pretty big updates to the River app launching in like the next month and a half. So have a lot of dev stuff happening there. And then on the Lightning thing. So River Lightning, that's the side to our business that's Lightning infrastructure. And the goal of that side of the business is to accelerate Bitcoin's adoption as a medium of exchange, right? And we want to make it as easy as possible for developers globally to connect to the Lightning Network and start building on it. And the way that we view Lightning is that if the Lightning Network is going to be this global thing that everyone ends up using, 99% of developers actually won't know how it works. Just like credit cards today, right? You add credit card payments to your app using Stripe. You don't know all the banking piping behind the scenes. Like, you don't care, right? You just want to make a payment or get paid. So that's the vision of that side of the business, is making it super easy. And it already is powering some pretty cool apps globally. It's the Lightning backend for Chivo, the wallet in El Salvador. So the government of El Salvador is one of our customers. We're going to be launching a partnership hopefully soon with a public company in the US. We have some other cool things coming down the road. So, but right now that Lightning infrastructure is custodial. You have an account at River Lightning. It has a Bitcoin balance, and you use our API to send and receive payments on Lightning from that. We're working on a big upgrade to this that makes it non-custodial, and which allows us to onboard anyone without having to do all sorts of like compliance checks, because it's just software. We're just providing a software layer for somebody else to manage to interact with the protocol, with the goal of abstracting away the complexity, so it doesn't feel like you're interacting with the Lightning protocol.
So going from something like a wallet of Satoshi to a Phoenix or a Breeze type app in terms of the Lightning functionality.
Exactly, but we're building this for developers. So this product isn't for consumers; it's for developers who want to build on Lightning. And that's the difference between like what we're building and what a Breeze and a Lightning. And what this unlocks is some cool stuff, because actually the big difference between what we're building, which is sort of enterprise, developer focused, versus consumer, is that we can have some extra guarantees around the liveness of the signers. We're not worried about flaky mobile signers, right? We can sort of assume a decently high uptime around signers. So this is where this idea of this supercharged subnet of the Lightning Network comes from. Like my vision with this product is that every customer using it is a node, and there's a signer, but they're all high uptime because they're running on servers or not on mobile phones. And we can add functionality to that Lightning subnet that allows cool things that you couldn't do just in the regular Lightning network. Like, for example, multi-party channels, making the liquidity like super efficient. Figuring out ways to just make all inter-subnet transfers like totally zero fee, right? Because you can add reputation to nodes who are like DOSing anybody. And you can add data layers with slight trust sort of assumptions to really make the experience magical. And then, of course, you can also talk out to the regular Lightning network. So that's like kind of the direction we're thinking and going. And it's still very early, but we're pretty excited about it.
I really appreciate you providing all of that detail. And I did have a follow-up question based on what you just explained. So who exactly, though, is that customer, though? Like in terms of like the profile, right? Because before you said these tools are for developers, but that customer doesn't sound like a regular retail user. That sounds like it might be a corporation of some type.
Yeah. So the
Am I wrong,
customer is
or?
the customer is a business
Yeah.
building an app,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So the customer is a business building an app that it uses Lightning.
Okay.
So, for example, an exchange, a wallet, pay for, a pay for content app, all sorts of like payment processors, right?
Mm-hmm.
All sorts of apps like that. That's what we're focused on empowering. AI stuff. Yeah.
I like that. I think that that's huge, and I definitely think that that's one of the pieces that has been missing, right? Like, so it's going to make it a lot easier, and now all of a sudden people don't have to feel so fearful when they start taking a look at Lightning to build on it. So I
Yeah.
like that a lot.
Yeah. I mean, we like to put ourselves in the shoes of, we don't just want to, there's people who love Bitcoin and will build on it no matter what. But then there's everyone else, right? And all these other developers around the world, 99.9% of which don't build on Bitcoin. How can we bring Lightning into their hands? That's what we're trying to do with this.
I love it. I absolutely love it. All right, Alex. I think we could go on and on this segment, but we gotta cut it off and we gotta move on to REKT. But before we do, how do the viewers find you if they want to ask you any questions? Where do they reach you?
So I'm on Twitter at Leishman, at my last name, and you can find us on Twitter at River or river.com.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. We are going to add that to the show notes. And guys, this wraps up the Fireside Chat. And we are moving on over to REKT. REKT is brought to you by CryptoCloaks. Check them out at CryptoCloaks.com. Awesome 3D prints made by a fellow Bitcoiner, such as the 3D printed grenade that fits 2 open dimes. If you get the bigger one, you can actually fit a full signing device like a cold card, a Jade, a Trezor. Anyways, check them out at CryptoCloaks.com. Use the code PlebUnderground for a discount on all the goodies. Welcome back. We are now diving into REKT. And of course, we're going to kick it off with Spectator Index. Just in. Huge shock. I know everybody is absolutely shocked by this. 95% of the NFT market is now worthless, according to a report by DAP Gamble. Don't get me wrong, we didn't need that.
No,
report.
it's 100%. Just 5% still mispriced.
That's right. That's the variance right there. Yeah. So NFTs totally wrecked. But that is not our main REKT story of the week. That's just the warm up. The main REKT story of the week. That's right. Is the continuation, and I think the kind of like the nail in the proverbial coffin of the whole.
This was
Bitboy
funny.
story.
I watched this like 5 times, Phil. Like this guy's like.
Don't worry, we're not going to make anybody watch this.
Go on.
Yeah, we're not going to make anyone watch this. We're just going to put the link in the show notes so that people can watch it themselves. But we are going to go through the tweets. Here we go. The fact is, Hit Network has taken all my money from me, so I can't fight. I'm humbly asking anyone who has ever benefited from my content or anyone or anything I've done to help donate to my legal fund to get BitBoy crypto back. In case people don't know what happened so far, I've done a couple of clips on it, which we will include in the show so people can go back and watch if they want. But essentially, what it seems like is that somehow there was a coup and his 2 partners, BitBoy's 2 partners, removed him from the BitBoy show, supposedly, right? I leave that with the asterisks. Anyway,
apparently it's like illegal what they've done. Like he owns like 2/3 of the company, but like he also seems to have like last I checked like 30 something ETH and like over 3 Bitcoin in these addresses and like millions of dollars of XRP.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of the whole thing, right? Is that there's definitely something seemingly wrong. There was a video that was released actually earlier today from some shitcoin account that he's accusing, and essentially this account released a audio recording of BitBoy offering some other person a percentage of his share of the company in order to help him get it back, or All I can tell you is we can't make this shit up. This is just absolutely ridiculous garbage. So here we go. Follow up to that previous tweet. Several people have asked about an XRP donation address for my legal fund. I have an XRP video coming out soon, and I appreciate the support. Now, interestingly enough, there's an article that dropped today. Why is BitBoy asking for XRP donations despite, this is what Walton mentioned, holding tokens worth $82 million? And yeah, we're going to dive into this a little bit. And we're also going to get a kind of a different spin on this story before we talk about it. So here we go. This let's dive into the story. This has invited wide-scale community backlash. Okay, community member wrote on X, honestly, that's kind of disgusting to beg your followers for their hard-earned money while you hold $80 million in shitcoin. However, other community members believe that the address shared by Armstrong is a centralized crypto exchange address. They explained that Armstrong shared a tag with the address, which means it's not his personal wallet. Okay, so maybe he doesn't really have 80 million bucks. Lastly, the community members criticized Armstrong. Okay, so this guy he just can't win. He's so wrecked, he can't win. Okay, so they criticized Armstrong for using a centralized exchange. A user commented, so you let someone else custody all of your crypto? Ledger Nano is literally less than $100, you clown.
Forget that. If he's complaining that he's been locked out of other things, then surely he should understand like a little bit about like the need for self-custody if he just got rugged on everything else that he owns.
Somehow, Walton, you're absolutely right, but somehow this gets worse, okay? Armstrong refuted the allegation, saying this is hilarious. He further revealed that he lost all his XRP on Celsius. Number one, my CFO, Timothy Shed, single-handedly lost $3 million in crypto on Celsius, and his son, TJ Shed, the CEO, refused to fire him. TJ made his dad CFO in spite of having zero financial experience. All our XRP was lost on Celsius. Number two, they stole all my money. This revelation fueled more community frustration as BitBoy previously promoted the bankrupt crypto lender Celsius. Like this, he's just so permanently wrecked. And I just want to finish it off by this interesting take right here from Adam O. But I just want to give some context. So it's a original tweet here from Luke Mikic retweeting CZ. Okay, and this is weird. This is where scammers shine. This is CZ. Okay, this is where scammers shine. Asking for donations is not a good way to redeem yourself when you hold more than $650,000 with us. I want you to think about what CZ just did. Our team confirmed that his account is still active under his total control.
I think it's kind of funny, to be honest. Like, but yeah, like when he's just doxing his that, but it's like, hey, well, I guess it's like scammers gonna call out other scammers. Like, it's one scammer equals one scammer, right?
And yeah, I just want to wrap this up with Adam O's take, fellow Bitcoiner Adam O, awesome Bitcoin miner. Follow him if you don't. Nobody gonna mention that CZ just straight up doxed the customer's account with details on total liabilities held with Binance. Guys, I don't even know, you know what I mean? Like, Alex, I know you and I spoke before the show, and I mean, that is just like, to me, I've been reporting on the drama that is BitBoy and the amount of ridiculous shitcoins that he has shilled in the last year. And I have to be honest, if you look at this in terms of a timeline, you can kind of see the implosion happening, because it's like all of a sudden he started to shill one project after another and then it completely imploded. And now, you know, he claims that he's broke and asking for donations. So as I've stated before, I think that this is all an act. Alex, give me your thoughts before we go to Walton.
I mean, there's no better industry for sociopaths than this. I mean, it's pretty obvious. Like, lots of people in this space, you know, they typically tend to go away in the bear markets, but not always. And it's just crazies. They're just crazies. And for some reason, people are susceptible to that. And I still don't know why, but it is real.
Everyone's
because
a scammer.
For some idiots, they think that if someone is seen to be spending money, that therefore that person must be very successful, even if they're just spending, you know,
and also
liquidity.
You know, if the bottom 10% of intelligence of people in the world is still like 800 million people, right?
And you know what it is? I don't, you know, sometimes it's really strange because you know, essentially these people create this weird kind of like fear FOMO type of situation where you have to like fear that if you don't do what they do, that you're not going to get where they seem to be. And like, for whatever reason, every single one of these show-offs, it always turns out to be just the most massive grifters. Like, I mean, this is like, it's like batting 100. Like
we're
every
all
single one
thinking
of
of
them is a
Richard
massive
Hart
grifter.
here, right? Just to be clear.
Yeah,
Everyone's
you're thinking Richard Hart, but I'm also thinking BitBoy too, because he tried with the little Louis side pouch thing, you know.
Well, you can also tell by how
First
people.
time ever. Go on.
I was gonna say you can also tell by how people talk, right? It's like, are they showing off lots of material possessions? How do they talk, right, and communicate? That's really a tell usually. Think about the smartest people that you know of or know yourself, and how do they behave and compare them to like, some of these people on Twitter. So, yeah, there's lots of tells.
Definitely.
The first time I ever heard of BitBoy was the video where he was too fat to get into his Lambo smoothly that he just bought. Like the first time I ever heard him was watching this video, and I was like, I bet they cut it. I bet they cut it just before he gets in, and then they'll restart. And then they did. I was like, this is amazing. Because clearly too fat to get in smoothly.
Reminds me of that South Park. Butter. With Rob Reiner. Butter. He's like greases himself up to get out of the car.
You're gonna have to pull up the clip of that. That is absolutely awesome. It's so true. All right, guys. This wraps up REKT, and BitBoy, I think at this point is just on the perma-REKT list, and we are gonna move it on over to the Hopium.
Up next, we have Hopium, sponsored by Represent. Represent are a leading Bitcoiner clothing brand based out on the west coast of the United States of America. If you head over to representltd.com and use the code PlebUnderground, you can get a discount on a wide range of apparel and accessories, including items nearly as impressive as this limited edition item that I'm currently wearing. Once again, that's representltd.com. Use the code PlebUnderground. Welcome back to Hopium, where this week I'm starting with a fuck up from the mainstream media, and I think it's Hopium because like essentially the costume is beginning to slip, right? The emperor is being shown to have no clothes, or in this case Zelensky in the audience of his own speech. Here, let me show you. So there's he's giving a impressive speech to the UN, and it's so busy that the audience is packed, including himself. Just right there. I don't know did you see? He's there in the audience for his own speech. Very impressive work by the mainstream media. Of course, they'll say later it was a mistake and that was an audience from a different speech or whatever. But either they're trying to fluff the numbers, and I just think like there's more. I feel like there's more and more of these things happening, right? Where the mainstream media make little mistakes, and there's going to be more and more normies that go, wait a second, and start asking questions. And I think that's a good thing. That's some real Hopium. Guys, what do you think?
I think the seed oils are definitely taking effect, and I think at this point people are just getting so sloppy because they just don't give a shit anymore. In all honesty, like people are just tired, they're drained, they're fed up. I mean, the reality is even the cogs in the machine don't give a shit to be a cog anymore. You know, it's like, you know what? I don't care if I fall apart. It makes no difference. Alex, what are your thoughts?
I could have said it better myself.
I appreciate that.
Feels like decay.
Doesn't it? Like it's like they can't even try anymore. It's like it doesn't matter. I know it's fake. You know it's fake. It doesn't matter. You're gonna buy it anyways.
Yep.
I swear that's actually like part of like a KGB like protocol of like you just meant to like kind of wear everyone down, and then like no one even cares that it's fake or like yeah. Anyway, I see it as positive because I think some people are gonna go wait a second and start asking questions, and that's always a good thing. All right. up next, we have a tweet from this is Pleb Underground, so of course, once in a while we have to feature a tweet from the king of the plebs, Mr. Hoddle, here retweeting.
He loves plebs.
That Spiral have done the right thing and paid Yuval, or nothing much as I know him, as one of their Bitcoin wizards. Essentially, he's gonna be working further on Bitcoin privacy and trying to decentralize coin joins. My understanding of the guy was that essentially he was hired by Wasabi to help architect Wasabi 2, including this Wabi Sabi or something. I'm not the guy on this, but Shinobi was telling me about this, and he said that this nothing much is a fucking genius, and was basically constructing something that was going to be amazing, and then got cut out of the process at Wasabi, and then eventually left, or was, you know, I mean, he was a big contributor there, but his plans essentially were kind of put to the side, and they went with something else that, by my understanding, is not technically where it should be. But this guy, seemingly now getting paid by Spiral to continue good work that others have recognized.
Alex, I don't know if you want to take this one first.
Yeah, happy to. I don't think I'm familiar with the developer directly, but BTK is a great project, and both BTK and LDK are very high quality Rust libraries that help developers build apps in Bitcoin. We use them ourselves for some of the stuff that we're running, and big fan, and I'm really glad to see Spiral funding that.
I don't know much about Spiral. But I will say this.
I can go back just here to show
okay,
a little bit of the thread of the developer talking about this. So he's hoping essentially for privacy to be integrated into all wallets rather than it being like a special kind of wallet, right? So the idea that that you essentially have privacy being part of the protocol rather than it being just
wallet
in
specific,
like what exactly within each individual wallet, it being more of a I guess a layer to something that's probably not the right word here, but yeah, essentially part of a protocol rather than within applications uniquely.
Yeah, I really like that vision. It's right now, even if you have a wallet that shows you all your different UTXOs, having no visibility into sort of what might, you know, be considered high risk, or like an exchange might label as something with some BS Chainalysis that's often wrong, right? It's a cat and mouse game with them. So I'm glad to see it.
I think that's a very good point. And you know what? Speaking of the Chainalysis thing, Lola Leitz, fellow Bitcoiner and pleb, wrote an amazing piece that got featured in Bitcoin Magazine, essentially about the inaccuracy of Chainalysis. But I just wanted to go back, Walton, and just mention, you know, about this whole Wasabi thing and this guy Yuval. So, you know, in the beginning, like when I first got into this, right, you get kind of like introduced to if you decide to go down the privacy rabbit hole, you get introduced to Wasabi and you get introduced to Samurai, and then you get introduced to the long drawn out drama that between the two products on a social level. Not that should make a difference, right? Like, not that should make a difference, but it's kind of like both of these teams kind of point, and I know that Samurai had nothing to do with this conversation, but I'm just bringing it in for context. I know that both of these teams sit there and point at each other as they're both FBI, they're both CIA, they're both whatever, you know, they're both spooks, right? Like both teams are spooks. I'm not saying that they are, I'm just saying that they point at each other and say that. But my point is that now this is another story, okay? True or not, I don't know the details, but where it seems that somebody like Yuval was possibly, you know, dealt a raw deal. You know, it kind of sounds like that. So it kind of makes those things start to seem, even if they're not true, it does start to give credence to, or credibility to those, you know, to those stories. So I don't know. I feel like this is kind of like I feel like this is once again another story where it's not a good look, you know, for the privacy tools. But in terms of the overall growth and the overall way of us looking at privacy, I think that this is a huge step in that way for Spiral doing this, right? Like you said, you know, like, I mean, this really, it should be privacy as part of the protocol, you know, like there should be that, and people should be able to easily program around it, and it shouldn't have to be wallet specific. So
I think it's reasonable to understand like why we haven't had that already. Like a key aspect of the independently verifiable scarcity, which to me is one of the most important factors with Bitcoin, is being able to count the UTXO set. And if you can't, and that has a trade-off to do with privacy, right? If you can count the UTXO set perfectly, then you can count the UTXO set perfectly, and you know, see where those UTXOs have come from. Yeah, trade-offs.
Hey, look, you know what I mean? It's if you think it's worth it, right? If you think it's worth it, then hey, no problem. And if you don't, well, you can fork off and make your own shitcoin that, you know, you can't see the base layer, you have no idea how many they have, but more privacy.
One of our sponsors, Crypto Cloaks, have joined my campaign to make Bitcoin sexy again, and they're doing so by producing these beautiful tumblers. And so if you're watching Pleb Underground and you'd like one of these gorgeous items, then watch this space. We're gonna have some Pleb Underground merch coming very, very soon. And if you would like, to contribute to a true pleb media initiative where we don't accept sorry, Alex, exchanges, custodians, or shitcoiners as sponsors. You know, if you do want to contribute to true pleb media where we aren't going to censor ourselves, we aren't going to have sponsors, you know, tell us what we can and can't say, then maybe one way you could do that would be by buying some Pleb Underground merch. So have a think, mate. You know, Christmas coming up in a few months. You know, you know all too well what your family would appreciate most, and I'm sure that's some Pleb Underground merch. What do you think, Phil?
I like it a lot.
Great gift idea.
I appreciate that, Alex. That wraps up the Hopium, and that does it for this week's episode of Pleb Underground. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Help us battle the evil YouTube algorithm. Don't forget to check us out on our audio-only platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. If you want to stream us sats, check us out on fountain.fm. You could stream us sats through Breeze. All right, Walton, how do we wrap this one up today?
Fuckshitcoins.com. Please like and subscribe. We'll see you next week.
That's right, guys. Catch you all next week.
More